Guys, and back to my Raw review, and there's quite a lot to talk about in this week's Raw, because apart from the actual show, there's like a lot of other little things I want to talk about, but I have to say, I'm devastated that they were breaking up Awesome Truth. I'm so sad, honestly. I was watching it, and I was like, no. I know it's because R-Truth got suspended, but why did they have to break up Awesome Truth for? They are so good together, and so hilarious, and just like the best heel tag team that they've got, and WWE, why did you do this to me? You get me really hooked on the team, and then you just like either break them off or whatever, and it's so annoying. But you know, I know it could like lead to a good thing, because like R-Truth could come back as this kind of like still really crazy kind of face and take out Miz, but they work so well as a team, and I'm really gutted. You guys probably don't care. I know a lot of people hate Awesome Truth, but I thought they were such a good team, so I was like devastated when they broke up at the end. But yeah, you know, so I kind of talked about the ending of Raw before I've actually talked about the rest of the show, so I'll go back and do my usual kind of like Raw thing. So CM Punk comes out to start the show. Obviously, yeah, didn't get the reaction that he got obviously at Survivor Series. Because yeah, sorry for my Survivor Series review, by the way. I was really tired, so I watched it back and I thought, oh man, I was like really rambling, and I missed out so much stuff that I wanted to say. But you kind of got the gist of what I was trying to say anyway. So anyway, CM Punk comes out and he's just talking about how great it feels, or how great it was to win at Madison Square Garden, and that the WWE title is now where it belongs, and he's going to obviously, yeah, make it more interesting again. Then John Laurinaitis comes out. I really wish that they would just, you know, get rid of him, because CM Punk was saying that, you know, yeah, the title is now where it belongs, and he would like to see, just, like, Laurinaitis as the former, like, Raw GM, but, like, Laurinaitis interrupts him before he can kind of say anything else. He says that Punk has no reason to hate him, because, you know, they are quite similar, and they both want change. And it's like, no. But Punk says that he has Laurinaitis has, like, no clue about the fans. He's like, you call them a universe, but they're actually fans. He's obviously trying to get away from this whole, like, thing of not calling it wrestling and stuff. Yeah, because he was saying that he's, you know, a wrestler, not a sports entertainer, and stuff like that. And then Laurinaitis is like, you know, I do what the fans want. He says that he's going to make Punk face Alberto next week on Raw, so Punk's like, you know, that's lame, and he's going to face Ziggler tonight, and then obviously he's like, you know, you obviously don't know what the fans want, because they want to see Zack Ryder versus Ziggler, but then Laurinaitis is like, no, Ryder's facing Alberto, so it's like, and then we will get to see Zack Ryder facing Ziggler for the US title sooner or later. They have to. Like, Zack Ryder needs to win the US title. That'd be awesome. So anyway, so that was the opening bit. So it was quite good. John Laurinaitis, he just ruins like every single segment he's in. But you know, so the first match was Zack Ryder versus Alberto Del Rio. I laughed when like obviously Rodriguez, I can't talk today, I don't know what is wrong with me. When Rodriguez was doing Alberto's introduction, and then Zack Ryder kind of like grabbed the mic when he got to, you know, Del, and then pulled it away, and he's like, what? So he just starts going, woo, 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 and it was funny. Zack Ryder is awesome. I can't believe that some people don't like him. He's so funny. What is not to like about Ryder? But anyway, it was pretty much a squash match. Del Rio hit the arm breaker on him, and then Zack tries to hit the Rough Rider, but it gets countered, and then he taps to the cross arm breaker. So that is that. Just, yeah, hopefully Del Rio will kind of go out as a title picture soon. Because, you know, as long as it's not Cena, I don't care, but, you know, he's getting a bit dull now. So then we have Sheamus versus Jack Swagger. Yeah, Sheamus wins, really. Well, it wasn't really that interesting of a match, to be honest, but, you know. Then Kevin Nash comes out. He's like, what is the point of him being there? You know, he's doing nothing. He's just talking about, like, rubbish. His promos are so boring. I know Triple H isn't there at the moment, because that's obviously, it's going to be when Triple H comes back, him and Nash are going to have some kind of altercation, but for the moment it is really boring. He just came out and was like, it should have been him and Triple H facing Rock and Cena, and I'm like, no, because that would have been the most boring thing imaginable, because you can't wrestle anymore. So anyway, and then he was like, I'm the real survivor of our, like, you know, team, like, from back when they were all friends in, like, 96 or whatever year it was that he said, I can't remember, but yeah, it was boring, so yeah. Yeah, he can't talk. He even, like, fumbled up, like, you know, like, I can't remember what he was saying. It was, like, literally right at the start, he was, like, you know, mucking up his lines already, so I'm like, oh my word, how do you have a job? Anyway, so, Cody Rhodes comes out, and he says that, you know, he is now unbeatable and unrepentant, and does his, like, little crazy laugh. So Santino Marella comes out, and you're like, yeah, like, Santino's gonna have a chance of beating him. Yeah, Santino tries to hit the Cobra, but it gets countered into the Crossroads. And then he goes and, like, has a go. Because, like, on the commentary, like, Booker T was, like, saying something about Cody. Not that, you know, like, he doesn't think he's a good wrestler, but he said he doesn't like the way that he is or something. And Marco Cole was like, you know, you shouldn't say stuff like that. But then Cody comes over to him, and he's like, I can hear what you're saying. And then, like, throws water in Booker T's face. So, that's starting a feud now between Cody Rhodes and Booker T. That'll be interesting. Then we had Dolph Ziggler versus CM Punk, which actually was a really good match, because, like I said, loads of times, Dolph Ziggler is a really good wrestler, and he needs to be pushed more, because he's having, like, really good matches, and obviously CM Punk is good as well. So yeah, this was a very good match. I laughed at Vicky Guerrero attempting to, like, flirt with Punk to, like, distract him. That was just, like, gross. But, you know, Punk hits a neck breaker and he goes for the GTS, but Ziggler manages to counter it into the sleeper hold. They both try and do pinfalls on each other with their feet on the ropes, but the referee kind of sees both times and breaks up the count. Punk hits a running knee in the bulldog. Ziggler hits a really nice drop kick. Like, seriously, I have written, like, a drop kick with an exclamation mark on my notes because that was, like, really made, like, a loud sound effect and just looked really nice. So that was good. Punk hits a diving elbow, but then only gets 2 count. He goes for the GTS, but it gets, like, countered, and then it was weird. I don't know exactly what happened. I think Dolph was going, I can't remember what move he was trying to do. I don't know if he was going for, I think he was trying to do the Famouser, but then Punk was supposed to catch him and hit the GTS, but he kind of fell off of Punk, and it looked like a really botchy powerbomb. So I don't know what happened there. It was a bit weird, but then Punk quickly got him up for the GTS and hit the win. So overall, it was a really good match, but just the ending, I'd forgotten about that actually, it was slightly botchy, but you know, never mind, good match anyway. Big Show comes out, he, you know, says that he's waiting for Henry to return, and, yeah, that was it. So we had a lot of, like, you know, weird, boring promos on the show. Wade Barrett faced Kofi Kingston, but Randy Orton comes out and kind of obviously distracts Wade, but then he stays and sits at ringside, and then at the end, yeah, Wade wins with the Wasteland, like, you know, while looking directly at, Orton, you know, kind of trying to, like, prove a point, you know, that he's good, like, better than him and stuff. So that's obviously starting up a new feud now between Randy and Wade, so that should be pretty good because Wade needs to be kind of pushed and put in, like, a decent kind of feud, because he's just, like I said before, he's just been kind of floating on SmackDown lately, not really doing anything. So at least now he's in, like, a proper feud. So that'll be good as well. So they actually do seem to be building up, you know, the people who I said. Cody's, you know, being pushed, so is Wade, and so is Dolph Ziggler, so I'm happy. And then, obviously, John Cena comes out at the end, so obviously, yeah, he doesn't really wrestle on Raw a lot anymore, I've noticed. But he seems to be more, like, doing, like, talky bits and stuff, but hey-ho. So he comes out and he says that Survivor Series was awesome, and that, you know, Rock showed that he hasn't lost it. That is what the whole problem, right, I was trying to get across. I laughed. Somebody put on my video from Survivor Series, commented saying that my favourite part of it was Punk winning because, you know, my C-Nation pride had been wounded by The Rock. I was like, what? If you watched my videos, you would know that I'm not by any means a Cena fan. So, you know, I just, you know, tolerate him, but it's not like I actually like him, you know, loads or anything. But, you know, that is a problem. Cena's just been, like, this kind of, you know, nice guy, you know, he always, you know, he just goes out there and he's all, like, you know, smiley, and whatever happens to him, you'd think that, you know, The Rock pretty much let him get battered in that match, you know, and then, like, went in and won at the end, and, you know, like, brought him back in and rock bottomed him, you know, after all of that, when Cena was just kind of applauding him, and he still does nothing. He talks about how good The Rock is. Surely if someone done that to you and they were supposed to be your partner, you'd be at least slightly annoyed, not all, like, smiley and, like, you know, saying, oh, The Rock is great. It just doesn't make sense. That's why people don't like him so much, because he just doesn't seem to show any kind of, you know, emotion, or he just doesn't do what, like, normal wrestlers would do and be, like, slightly annoyed. So that's what the problem is, and yeah, my C-Nation pride has been wounded. What? Punk winning was genuinely my favourite part, just because of the whole, like, crowd and the reaction and everything. I don't really need to explain myself, but I just am. So anyway, that's what's annoying. So he comes out here on Raw, talking about how great the Survivor Series was, how awesome The Rock is, and he's just like, what? And he says that, oh, that WrestleMania will be exactly what it needs to be, you know, it will be great because of, you know, what The Rock's like and him, and you're thinking, right, you're just going to be like that all the way through to WrestleMania, that's annoying. Then Awesome Truth interrupts, and they said, you know, they were going on about how, like, no one wanted to see Cena in the match, which was true, you know, because they were chanting, like, don't tag Cena and stuff, you know, and going on at him, and then R-Truth was, like, talking about how The Rock will beat him at WrestleMania, and he's like, oh, you know, the C-Nation will soon be the See You Later Nation, and it was funny. See, that's why R-Truth and Miz, how can you break them up? You know, but then Cena says that nobody cares about Awesome Truth, you know, they don't, obviously nobody really wanted to see them, it was all about The Rock, which obviously, that was true. And then he was saying that, like, well, he was, like, saying what he thought that they each thought about each other, you know, that, I can't exactly remember exactly what it was, but he was basically saying that Miz thought Truth was crazy, and that Truth thought, like, you know, Miz was, like, arrogant, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, and he was like, oh, you shouldn't be booing me, you two should be booing yourselves, and obviously walked off. So obviously R-Truth and Miz are in the ring, kind of, you know, glaring at each other, and R-Truth was all like, do you really think I'm crazy, and was like, you know, Miz is like, calm down, you know, Cena's just trying to get at us, and then, like, so Miz kind of pushes, like, Truth, and then Truth like actually punches Miz in the face, so obviously the crowd like cheering at this point, and Miz is like, whoa, calm down, we need to go after Cena. So I knew that this was going to happen, so they were like, you know, walking back up the ramp together, and then like Miz grabbed R-Truth and hit the Skull Crusher finale on this like stage, and I was just like, guys, because obviously when I watched Raw I didn't realise that it was because R-Truth has been suspended. Now it makes sense. So obviously, yeah, I don't know whether they probably wouldn't have broken them up if R-Truth hadn't got suspended. So why, Truth, would you do that? You're having such a great year, you know, you're in this like awesome team with like Miz, and you're in, you know, main eventing pay-per-views, and then you go and get suspended. Oh, rant. So, you know, but you know, who knows what happened. Obviously he's only suspended for 30 days, so he might come back, and obviously, yeah, if he comes back as a crazy face, that would be like pretty good, but I'm still gutted that Awesome Truth broke up. So yeah, and also the other things I need to talk about, obviously I don't know if you would have seen like the promos, they obviously had like the video about where it just showed like Kane's old mask like being set on fire and burning on the ground. So obviously that's probably gonna, you know, mean that obviously Kane is coming back, because obviously he's been out for I don't know how long now. It's like been like kind of like months. But does this mean he's going to return as masked or not masked? It seems a bit weird that they would show that. I know that was obviously indicating that it's Kane, but you know, obviously because it's been like 8 years since he had the mask. I think it was. So, you know, if he came back now, would that be weird? Would that be good? I personally think it would be awesome. Just because, you know, we grew up watching Kane, like, with the mask and stuff, and I preferred him back then. But I don't know if it would make sense for him to come back masked now when everybody's seen him without a mask, if that makes sense. So leave your thoughts below on what you think. And also as well, like, I thought, to start with, I was like, what is going on? Because obviously when they were showing, like, you know, like, Twitter stuff, it kind of kept, like, crackling, and it came up with, like, this, like, YouTube address, like, so, like, It Begins 2012. So obviously I went online and watched it, and I've seen the video. So it's somebody that is coming back, that's talking about, like, it's got this, like, video of, like, a child, like, writing stuff, like, at a school desk, and it's, like, it's just got this, like, voice saying, you know, a familiar face, will be returning, or something along those lines anyway. So I'm not sure. The main, like, people at the moment are thinking it's Undertaker, but that would be, like, boring, you know, not what I want to see, because he only comes back, like, once a year, and it's dull, and, you know, last time they didn't start doing, like, the return videos for him until, like, kind of January time, because he obviously came back in February, I think. But, yeah, so if it's just Undertaker, that would be a bit boring, because as you guys know, I'm not really a massive Undertaker fan. But there's speculation whether it could be Jericho or just like somebody else, but I don't really know who. So if you guys have got any other ideas about who you think it might be, except for like Jericho or Undertaker, then let me know what you think. I've had a few more questions for question and answer. Like I said, that will be either this Saturday or this Sunday, depending on what time I have. Obviously, I haven't had loads of questions yet, not enough to actually do the video. So please comment before you know, go and, you know, do anything else. Just leave a question in the comment box or send it to me by a personal message, you know, because you guys requested you guys obviously asked me to do another one, so now you actually have to leave me questions so that I can actually do one. So yeah, I think that was all I kind of wanted to talk about for now anyway, so I'm rambling and stuff, and ow, my hand really hurts. I don't know what I've done to it. But anyway, no, so thanks. I've had a few more like subscribers, obviously, since like, you know, in the last couple of weeks, and since like my Survivor Series video, so that's cool. So thanks for subscribing to me, and hope you enjoy my crazy rambling videos. As I proved in my last video, I forgot to mention, because obviously, not my last video, my last Raw one, I was like sitting on my hands at the start, wasn't I? I realised that within like 20 seconds I was like, you know, moving my hands around again. I'd totally failed. It's impossible for me to like sit still like during a video. It just doesn't happen. Anyway, thanks for watching this slightly crazy ranting Raw review. So yeah, leave the comments on this, leave the questions for question and answer, and yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of the week, and I will see you guys at the weekend with my next video. Bye!